Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Our guest once again is Dale Hall. He's chairman of the Louisiana Gaming Control Board, which regulates all gaming activities in the state. Now it's time to get you in on the conversation. We're going to take your questions for our guest, and we have lots of questions here. So first question says, is my office allowed to do a pool for March Madness if money is involved? We do it every year, but I never thought about it as being illegal.
And it is not illegal, again, as long as all the money that is collected is dispersed and that no one is taking a cut for handling the game or sponsoring the game or whatever. But as long as all the money that is bet is paid out, then there's nothing illegal about that, whether it's done as an office pool or even in a bar.
Okay, all right. Next question says, New Jersey is currently debating whether or not to legalize sports betting. Will Louisiana ever consider doing this? What are the pros and cons?
Well, Louisiana seems to be a fairly conservative state, and one of the things that I have witnessed in my tenure is that anything that is perceived to be an expansion of gaming has not been well received in this state. And currently, I would say in the atmosphere currently is no, it would not be, because I don't believe that the legislature would really entertain an expansion of gaming beyond where it is right now at this point.
Are you surprised by that, the fact that people don't really seem to want the expansion, but so many people seem to enjoy it?
Well, there is a dichotomy there that I don't know really that I can understand. I know one of the problems is, Louisiana is not a very rich state, and that goes to its citizenry as well. And when you talk about the negative side of gaming, there are people who have issues or problems with gaming from an addiction standpoint. It does seem to, there are families who are destroyed by, by gaming.
Yeah.
So,
just briefly, and that's not your area of expertise, but I've seen and I've read about studies that point to the lower socioeconomic areas of cities and towns where casinos and even scratch lotto things, where local groceries see a decrease in the money spent on bread, milk, eggs, food staples, where local casinos see an increase. So families feed their children less of the foods they need to grow strong and be healthy and fight off disease, while local gaming outfits reap the income. So it's a.
There is a balance. There's a societal balance there, and one thing that I don't believe anybody wants to see is someone who cannot afford to game, spending money that will go to feed their family or otherwise. Provide for their loved ones being spent in a manner that was imprudent.
Yeah.
You probably saw as a state trooper, or heard the stories where often when there's a child who is left abandoned in a car in the heat, it's parked outside of a casino.
Right.
That's heartbreaking.
It really is.
Yeah, it is. It is. But with all of your years of experience, both on the board and as a state police trooper, when you look at the different kinds of gaming, you've come away with some conclusions about what tends to be the most addictive, right?
Well, I believe there have been studies that have shown that video poker really is more addictive than other forms of gaming. Now, I don't know why. I don't understand the psychology of it, but there have been studies that have asserted that, and I'm familiar with those, and they seem to be true.
Well, we have a question here that says truck stops often advertise themselves as casinos. Why are they allowed to do that?
Well, really, they are a casino in the sense that they're, depending on their fuel sales, the amount of fuel they sell, they're allowed to have up to 50 video poker machines.
Okay.
So, they really are, in a lot of ways, a mini casino.
A mini casino. So if you have to have at least 50 machines.
Well, it goes anywhere from 25 to 50 machines, and it depends on the amount of fuel that you sell in your truck stop. Determines how many machines you can qualify for.
Okay, all right. Well, we talked a little bit about the fact that people really aren't interested in expanding gaming, but our question from one of our viewers says, does Louisiana have an above average amount of gambling as a state? I guess when you look at the number of people who actually are involved.
I would say that generally the answer to that is no. And the reason I say that is there's only 2 states that do not have some form of gaming or gambling. And that is Hawaii and Utah. Every other state, at least at minimum, has a lottery. So there are various forms of gaming in many states. There are a lot of states coming online with riverboat gaming has become very popular. There's a lot of states entering into riverboat gaming. There's Massachusetts and Illinois. Massachusetts is just now going through the process, but Illinois has had a great expansion in riverboat gaming. So there's other states that are that are entertaining it, particularly because of the source of revenue.
Yeah.
I mean, there is money there for this that goes to the state coffers, depending on how they set up their regulatory scheme and what fees they charge the casinos for those licenses.
Okay, yeah, we talked a little bit about charitable gaming, but this question says that I want to host a bingo event for charity. Do I have to get permission of some sort to do this?
Yes, you do. And the State Department of Revenue has a charitable gaming section that would permit that. And when I say permit that, they'll issue you a permit to be able to do that. And what they're looking for is that it's actually a bona fide charity that is conducting it, and that they're not taking any more of the revenue for the administration of that charity than what the law would allow them to do. And some parishes also have a local charitable gaming office.
Okay.
I'm not sure about Orleans Parish. I know East Baton Rouge Parish does, but I'm not sure about Orleans or Jefferson Parish.
So it's very important, if this is something that you're trying to set up for whatever charity you happen to be trying to raise money for, you really do need to follow the protocol and make sure that you dot all the I's and cross all the T's.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Yes,
and
you do.
Are there other problems or misconceptions when it comes to setting up these charitable gaming?
Well, I mean, just a lot of people think that I can print my own tickets and just have charities because my friend's house burned down or for whatever reason. And though it may be legitimate to you as a reason to want to provide some charity to that person because of some devastation in their life, there's a legal way to go about doing that, and because there are people who will take advantage of others, and
they could just contact the Department of Revenue.
Department of Revenue.
Louisiana Department of Revenue.
Correct.
Just very briefly, you mentioned that more than half of the parishes in the state of Louisiana voted against having, was it casinos?
Video poker.
Video poker. That might be the reason why the expansion of gambling in this state is not likely to happen. Those same parishes are going to vote against the legislators, the representatives who have to vote in the legislature for or against gambling.
Correct.
And speaking of the legislature, the session is coming up. It's going to be starting relatively soon in April. Are you all pursuing any legislation during the session?
The Gaming Control Board, I don't believe, is going to have any legislation this year. Last year, we did some major rewrites to clean up statutes because there had been so many changes over the years that it actually just needed to be recodified and rewritten so that the continuity flowed, rather than have all these little breaks and changes and things in the law. So there was a big rewrite. I don't see us really pursuing anything very large. I understand there is, that there is some move afoot with some of the truck stops because of the downturn in the economy, and they have some legitimate arguments that the fuel sale requirements are becoming more and more difficult to meet as they have been established in the past, because there is because of the downturn in the economy and the increase in fuel costs, that is more difficult to maintain their fuel sales.
When you look at the other states that are bringing gaming activities in, we've been doing it for a while now. But when you look at
1992, actually.
Since 1992, when you look at the other states and how it's trending around the country, are there things that these other states can learn from Louisiana? Are you at the table? Are you talking to these other states?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, usually, particularly when a state is going to go into an area of gaming that they have either not had before, or they're new to gaming altogether, they're going to look for states that have regulatory schemes already in place to regulate the type of gaming that they're looking at approving. So very recently, we've had people from New Jersey here, we've had people from Massachusetts here, looking at our regulatory scheme for different types of gaming.
Lots to be learned. Lots to be learned.
Well,
from.
I mean, there really is, and we learned there's no reason to reinvent the wheel if there is if there's a good mechanism already in place that works. You do your best to try and learn from others' best efforts.
Okay. Well, our last question again has to deal with online betting.
Betting.
It says, how can I tell if the online sports book I'm using is illegal? Realistically, could I ever get in trouble for online sports betting?
Well, it is illegal. The state again, because of state and federal statutes. State statute prohibits it, and a federal statute prohibits it. It's illegal to make the bet, and it's illegal for the person taking the bet, both. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. Although I do believe there will be a national debate of which Louisiana will be involved at some time in the future.
Yeah, but for right now, let's be clear, it is illegal.
Correct.
Okay.
It is.
Well, that is all the time that we have. We've learned so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And
Yeah.
again, thank you for having me.
Yeah, that is all the time we have. Be sure to join us next week when we take on another important legal issue and discuss what you need to know to make sure your rights are protected.
Thanks, everybody, for watching our show. Remember to interact with us on Twitter, on Facebook, and by mailing the show. You can watch past episodes and get more information about every topic we discuss at johnredmondpoa.com. We'll see you next time.